This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our guest is Emily Bennazi.
Hello.
Hello. We're here.
So I know it's a complex topic, but the thing is, if you guys are so close, you're living together. A lot of these people are living together. They share everything. And when I see two people living together, it doesn't matter what background they come from. It's just the woman has more control over things. She manages, and she's detail oriented, and she's the one who's going to remind to get groceries and all that.
Mhm.
So why is it difficult for her to say, maybe we should just convert this relationship into a marriage? And why? Because of the vision. I want to have children. I want to do this thing. I want to do that thing. And once we are locked into that relationship, it's better to do that. But so there has to be a logical reason. But what I hear is they keep on waiting for the man to do that. Now, I'm talking about a particular kind of women who might be very feminist, who might be doing everything in the leadership type role within that relationship. But the only thing they would not do is propose because the norm, the culture is, you don't do that. Okay. Who told you previously, 50 years ago, you didn't even live with your spouse? Or you didn't even wear the shorter clothes in public. Women used to wear whatever in 1920s. That's what I've seen in historical images. So there were a lot of things have changed. So why not this one? That's why there are couples around the world. I've seen women bringing a bouquet on Valentine's Day and proposing, and they don't care. Why? Because somebody is taking that first step, but the end goal is being together, locked in relationship, right?
I kind of disagree with you on saying that feminists wouldn't propose. I feel like feminists actually would. I feel like
But
those
do they?
be-
Would
I feel like feminists would be the type of people that would propose because they're the ones that are trying to break that stereotypical of like, well, you're just going to put me in the kitchen and you're just going to do this. Well, now I'm going to propose, So
but do they do that, or it's just like they would if
I'm not sure because I'm not a feminist, but I particularly have seen just from the culture in which they tried to raise me up in, which is like the boss babe culture. So boss babe culture is kind of like, we don't need a man. We can just do it ourselves. We can own the business type of mentality. So I think that has opened up the doorway to more women feeling more confident because now we're making more money now, just as a gender, historically, and we own real estate now, and we have positions in politics now. So, yeah,
so it should be more common. That's more my point. Like if
I think that it's more relationship.
and I'm not saying feminists in the wrong way. Who are
neither apply.
strong and confident,
I'm not saying
They-
feminists in the wrong way. No,
right?
I'm just saying that those types of women would be the ones that I feel like would be the one to be like, well, I'm going to take the lead on this, and then I'm going to propose. Personally, I would rather have been proposed to. I am engaged, so he did propose to me, and I loved that. And I that's just me traditionally, and maybe that comes from my background. But I also didn't really take a very traditional path to get to that, and I still have it, which is fine. But I do think that there's also a role that men do play in a strong society. And I've come to understand this as I get older, just like the position of the female and the male in relationships and then in society. I do think that when a man does propose, it's kind of like them initiating that they're ready to provide and that they're ready to give what they, as a man, needs to give to their family in order for them to have a successful life. And I think that that's like the man's choice to be able to say that they can do that. And I think that that's been the position of it for a while. Like the position has always been like in the man, realm to do that first.
That's actually interesting because that's where I find some sort of conflict with people who would claim that I can do everything and I'm as good as the man. But then there are a couple of things or situations where they would drop this idea or belief or whatever. Proposal is way far, but even like when you're going out, okay, I'm gonna sit here and let you pay because now you're a man. So why is
Because that
that and
mentality.
that particular? No, I'm yeah.
Yeah.
Even there are a particular group that will
There's
be.
definitely-
Oh, I'm just like I can do everything,
Definitely.
all that. But why can't you do there? And it's just like I think double standards or for some people do that. I'm not saying everybody does that or every female do that. Females, every female doesn't do that. With traditional role, there is a strength to that, and I know I can wear different kind of colors and I don't care about that, but there is a difference between things done or the way men do it versus women do it.
Yeah.
And I strongly believe in that.
Well, you lead with logic and we lead with emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we always that's always where men and women conflict, is understanding the emotion and the logic. And it doesn't really ever work. Somebody always ends up bending. So I don't know. I've never really focused on like whether the man proposes more or the women. I always did feel a little strange when I saw women do it. And maybe I have to look at why that makes me feel weird.
But
Yeah.
have you seen anyone doing it?
Particularly, do I know anybody?
Yeah.
Let me think for a minute. Do I know anybody that's proposed to their husbands? I know somebody that like went and picked out the rings before and like tried to, like they kind of like thought about it together. Like they picked their rings out together.
Yeah, I know people do that. But
That-
my thing was like getting on your knee and doing the whole ritual.
I like that.
No, like
That's
a
not
woman doing that. I
Yeah.
haven't seen anyone first.
Um,
Because that's what I'm saying. That is the only, in addition to paying, ritual where I see.
I feel like I know somebody.
extreme strong women just saying no. He has to do that, but then what about the other things? You think he shouldn't do it?
I wonder if you could like.
Tell me what I am supposed to do.
I wonder if you could like put that on a map and make it like a demographic, and like see where have women proposed to their husbands more, and like which states and which areas of the map. Yeah, they do that. Which area of the world do more? Like how many women propose to their husbands in this country or this state?
Different countries, I think, depending on the city. Well, countries I know.
I'd be interested in actually seeing that.
Yeah, seeing that. I'll
Seeing-
talk about the countries later, maybe
Yeah.
not today. But I don't know in the U.S. because I still struggle with this fact. In the U.S., it's so difficult to strike up a conversation with a female unless you know them, because or unless there's
They're-
business involved.
Right.
Yeah, because it's right away.
They think
Uh,
that you're in it.
That's my assumption, or I've been told right away they'll
It
think.
feels like that, right?
So you can't just talk for the sake in. Do I say for the sake?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. For the sake
You
of just
can't talk for the sake of talking,
Mm.
and it might not be the same way in many other countries.
Yeah.
For example, I got a room at a found family's house in. It wasn't a room; it was more than a room. It has a mini kitchen and a bathroom. In Bangkok at a family's house,
Wow.
and
That must have been fun.
in living in that room.
Yeah.
No, you know what I learned about myself.
That was probably so fun.
just living in that city is
No, knowing the end result of where you are now, that like you're not like still maybe there, knowing like now that there's like an end to it, like it's kind of fun to think that you live there, right?
well, yeah,
Yeah, like it's
Right.
freaking awesome.
yeah. I mean, I enjoy trying new things, living with different people, talking to them. And this is I use an app because I don't speak the language; they don't speak my language. But there was a young female who was communicating with me. I don't know. It was a family. The only thing I know, because Asian people, they take off their shoes outside the doors. So their door was across from me, and we had a mini area in between where there was a washer dryer and a couch type. So I saw several shoes, and maybe either I couldn't tell she was so young whether she was the mom or she was the one of the daughters.
Okay.
Right. But she was the one committing in English, and once twice I saw her. Once she brought chicken pad thai for me, like authentic one. She said, "Oh, I thought you'd like it." I said, "Wait." And the second time I saw her, she brought a dessert.
Hmm.
It's not that. So we talked about nothing really. There wasn't any fear or why talking should be fear based, unless it's like you are in a space where you are alone and you have a fear of some sort of attack or whatever. But just talk, like you, for example, uh at a store, at a Walmart.
Yeah.
You
like,
talk to
listen.
the strangers. That's
Yeah, we
the way
talked
you
about
thought.
that earlier, right?
Right?
How,
Yeah.
like we'll walk in with a big smile on our face, so everybody will be like this. Well, that's because I feel like when you walk into this is gonna sound absolutely crazy, but when you walk into like a supermarket or a department store, I firmly believe that you're walking into a wormhole and you are walking to another matrix, and everything that's going on around you is actually just like a totally another world. Like you're tapping into a totally, and I think that way when you walk into a restaurant, you're tapping into like a totally another world. If you look at all these people that are working there, they take everything so seriously. Like this is their job. The bartender's like so serious, like needs the ice. Like this person's like, where's my pen? All over there, like those people at the bar are like, where's my napkins? Like everybody's so concerned, And it's just so yeah. Like I accept people how they are in those moments because it's like they are exactly how they need to be. If they were like me, I would think it's weird. I'd be like, okay, this matrix has been tapped by somebody else searching for the truth.
Don't care anymore.
Like, as long as I'll be the happiest person in the room, but like I can spot you at something's weird over there. Like, relax.
Right. I think the extreme I would go to is like, hey, having a good day, or somewhere like, no. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear about that. But happened. But again, I know it's not that they're gonna begin talking. Oh, I went through this breakup, or I didn't get to eat my finest I was going to say email, finest meal. But I think sometimes the minor appearance or gestures could make a difference in someone's life, and I have done that. I try to do usually with the older people, because I know that
they're gonna reciprocate. They're gonna say hi.
yeah, or they would feel less threatened.
Right.
Right. Even when you asked me, did I get to get sweetener? So usually I talk to elderly people, and I know the other thing is that a lot of elderly people are they have a lot to share, and they don't like devices at all, and they don't get to talk out a lot. So I would say, just like, I remember at Walmart, I forgot where was it. Totally forgot. And there was a woman, and she was behind me, and this was a long line, and she wanted me to guard her stuff. And she went back, and I waited for her. When she came back, she shared with me she was sending money to her son. I think her son was in military or something. Overseas, and this Western Union or some other agency asked for a code, or the code didn't go to him correct. So she had some struggle. So I tried to cheer her up that, oh my God, yeah, I wish this wasn't like that. And what are you cooking? I hope you enjoyed. It wasn't like deep, when you're gonna die. It also like that, or like who's gonna do your funeral, or it wasn't even like, hey, do you know where you'll end up if you die today? So let me try to sanctify you. But everyone has some sort of struggle, and these moments help. Some of us control it. I mean, people who are numb, that's a total different thing.
Emotional desert.
People, yeah,
Emotional desert.
people who are driving.
Well.
Otherwise, even when I'm driving and I would pass by and smile, look at somebody,
they don't even respond.
Some people don't, but then there are people who would smile back or whatever. So I feel like it's a great thing to do. Because what you said earlier, now from driving, what I learned, what you said earlier, we are different, but not that different. You phrase it a little differently. Wherever I went in the world,
we're we're similar, but we're not the same.
Yes. Wherever I went in the world, there are few gestures I think we all have the similar kind of gestures.
Right.
And one of them is whenever you stop at a stop sign and the other person asks you that you go first or whatever, and you do like this, which means thank you
Yeah.
or whatever. In almost every country I've been to, the
They
gesture is
do
the
that?
same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's a human gesture.
That's beautiful.
And these kind of things, yeah, I have noticed that what are the things.
You know what I just thought about?
What?
Thought about like people meeting at the crossroads. Like today, all the people in the world that have met at the crossroads and have done that hand thing at the same time.
Well, that becomes like a high five.
Just like,
yeah,
kind of interesting to like put them side by side together. Like that. Just like all different crossroads, like people doing hand. That'd be really cool. It'd be like a good commercial for maybe like
a
taxi or Uber or something.
She's going to film a commercial now. You are still 25 in our timeline. What happened? You were trying, asking me to guess.
Yeah, I was like, yes.
I don't know what happened.
All right, so what happened was I studied photography. I loved it. It was really cool. I got my degree. I graduated. But then I stayed at Nassau Community College for an extra year and I studied science because I actually didn't take any science classes in high school. My mom decided I should do cosmetology school half the day. So I took a BOCES class, 11th and 12th grade.
What is BOCES?
So it's like an extracurricular class where it's like the fourth period of school. I left and I finished half my day at like a trade school. So I went and I learned directly cosmetology. And for 2 years. So I have the degree in Cosmo too. So I wanted to do special effects makeup. I wanted to go to the MUD Makeup Academy in Brooklyn. And that place was so cool. So I kind of really wish I followed that. But I studied science and that was completely new to me. I failed biology the first time I took it at Nassau.
Oh, wow, you hate biology too. I passed on the border. I was about to fail the class.
Right. Well, I didn't. I failed.
Oh, good.
And I was going for...
Well, I'm not the only one. Sorry.
Well, what happened was, so when I was like nearing my graduation for photography school at Nassau Community College, I was walking around the campus and they had like a college fair. And I was like, okay, where am I going to go after this? Because it's like I have to continue this education. I don't know why I thought I had to continue my education. I just did. And I found just like this gym full of colleges. And like you're walking around and you're like trying to figure out where you fit. And I was like going like all the random ones and like really like feeling it out. But then one of these booths just like hit me. And it was the Environmental Science of Forestry, SUNY ESF, which is located up in Syracuse. And I was like, this looks really interesting. Like environmental science and forestry. I never like seen a college name that. Like, this is cool. Let me see what this is about. And the recruiter guy, his name was Tim. I remember him exactly. He was like dressed in a suit. He looked really great. And I walk up to him and we had this conversation and he was like, you should apply. And he was showing me some a different school that was like within, it was more of like a trade school outside of the main campus in Syracuse, and it was located in the Adirondacks, and it was the Ranger School. So I was like looking at that, I was like, the Ranger School, that's really interesting. And here I am, a girl from Long Island, like the hell, like getting my nails done. I'm gonna look at the Ranger School. What is this? I was so intrigued by it. I was like, this is so different. And I looked at the Ranger School stuff and I was like, oh wow, I could go get another associate's degree in 1 year. So that's pretty great. It took me 2 years to get this photography one. I mean, I could get one and become like a forest tech, and survey some land and see how much trees are worth. I didn't know that at the time that that's what I was doing. I was just like, forest resource management, forest technology. This looks interesting. So I was like, Tim, can you tell me more about this Ranger School? And he's like, yeah, this is the Ranger School. And it's pretty, there's small class. It's up in the Adirondacks. It's located in Wanakina. The population is like 50 people. And it's located on the Oswegatchie River. It's really beautiful. And I was like, I'm going to go for this. And he's like, you know what? You'd get in because there's no girls that like ever apply. but you need to get like your science prerequisites to be able to do this. And I was like motivated as hell.
Yeah.
I had a lot of other personal stuff going on in my life, but somehow I pulled this through. And I failed biology, but I didn't give up. I was like, I'm passing these prerequisites to get into this college, like to go. And I had a year to do it. So I finished up all my things. And like one of the last history classes, I'll never forget this. I was like on my way to finish this out and graduate so I can move on to go to the Ranger School in that summer. I had some writing on my hand. It was like related to like a hospital appointment that I had and just like some stuff. Like I used to write on my hand a lot. And I had a final that day and I was taking a final in my history class. It was like, I loved history. Like I was good at history. You didn't mess around with me on that. Like I paid attention. I read. I was interested. And so we had a final and it was so easy. It was like an essay to like write about whatever happened at this time period. And I just like knew it all. I just freaking bonded. It was awesome. And I handed it in like this. And the guy said I was cheating. So he was going to suspend me from the school and I was going to like lose all of that time in that work. And I was going to like lose that moment and like not be able to get into this school. And I was like pleading with the guy. I was like, no, like, let me retake the test. Like you could sit in the room with me. Let me retake the test. He ended up helping me and letting me retake the test. And I was able to pass out of that school, thankfully, and move on. They used to call Nassau Community College 13th grade. So it was like, you want to get out of there. You know what I mean? It's like people from your high school are still lingering around. You got to like move on. I was a little weirdo though. Like I would ride my bike to Nassau Community College and like nobody rode their bike. You know, everybody wanted to ride their cars and like be cool with their cars. But people would get into so many accidents in the parking lot that I was smart. I was like, I know I'm going to get into an accident. I can't afford these accidents. So I've been in way too many car accidents. I'm riding my bike to school every day. So you would see me on Merrick Avenue going down. Like, do you know anything about like where the Nassau Coliseum is?
No, I'm trying to see. I've heard about it, but no, I
Okay.
don't think so.
It's kind of busy, you know? So like I look like the Wicked Witch on this bike, just like get to school every day.
Have your broom and
I had a nice green bike.
okay. Oh wow, great.
Yeah. And like you'd see my bike, just the only bike chained up on the fence. Like, why would I ride my bike to college? I was such a loser. But it's so cool at the same time. I loved it.
Did students look down on you or something?
Yeah. People would leave me notes on my bike and stuff.
Like you suck or what?
No, I got some flirt stuff and like, you know.
No one wrote a poem?
Nobody stole my bike, which I'm thankful for.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a poem.
Oh, I got a poem.
I did.
Like the girl
Like
is
something about a rail. You're like a train going by or something like that.
Yeah, who wrote
Like a train I missed.
Did you meet the guy who wrote that?
I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, so I was a little oddball kind of always and like just did things like my own way.
So when did you finish that?
Yeah, so I freaking thankfully got out of that college and I go to the Ranger School, which is, you know, so cool. I was one of 9 girls there and it was like at 50 guys. Yeah, it was pretty insane. Like just the amount of like pressure that's on you because you're a girl.
Yeah.
And that you're from Long Island.
How were the boys like?
They were good enough. They were good enough. Like they, you know,
How
Rangers-
lead to the goals?
Ranger
Isn't
School
that
for the
great?
guys. Listen, Ranger School for the guys was the best thing. Like they were able to have the camaraderie of being with men and like cut down trees and like be in the woods and and like build fires. Like they were in their glory and they didn't really know it. And I really wish that most of the students in my class took advantage of the time that they had spent there because it was really fucking awesome. Sorry to say that, but it was. They didn't relate to the girls at all. They overpowered us. Like, you know, they weren't going to relate to us. They were teaching us everything. I jumped off a 60-foot cliff, you know, like I would never do that now. I jumped off a cliff into this water. Oh my God, it was insane. But I did it because the guys did it. And I was like, I could have gotten seriously injured, but like I didn't. And I could have like chopped my legs off with these trees we were cutting down. It was insane. But yeah, I was like 21 and I tapped into this other world of like,
You were 21?
yeah,
So you finished
3
that-
years later.
yeah.
So like 18, 19, 20, 21, I went out 21, 22.
so you graduated.
I graduated that for a year.
Mm-hmm.
A year
And
later.
this was a second associate.
Yeah. And this was great. I loved it. That was good times. Doing forest
Well,
network.
so that
Escaped into the woods.
you grew up in a faith-based household, but you had some sort of haunting experience with the religion,
Yeah.
and then you became more like a party girl,
Yeah.
and
Pretty
then
outgoing.
photography, then you became a ranger,
Yeah, well,
and then what?
it was more forest technician work.
Okay.
People always confuse it. I mean, like, yes, I actually could still go on and get my forest, if I want to become a forest ranger, which I think I still do want to do one day. I just, at the time, I didn't feel like I wanted to really manage people in that way. I really wanted more to educate. So I went to work at a nature center the whole time I was at the main campus in Syracuse. So I worked at Lime Hollow Nature Center, which is in Cortland, which they did beautiful programs for early childhood development. And I was able to be a part of such a beautiful community there and like really get a great showcase for environmental education and like being a steward of the earth. And like I went back to nature, honestly. And that came through my photography. Like when I was doing photography, I had found myself resulting to nature for my photos. So I found connection through, and I have really, I love this photographer, that his name is Atkins. He's a really good nature photographer. And just like doing nature photography was like really compelling to me. And then I was like out there and like, what are the names of these things? Like, I want to learn I don't want to be an alien in my environment anymore. Like, I want to know what these names of these trees are and like these plants. So I took a natural history of Long Island class at community college, and my teacher Frank was so awesome. He was the man. I love him. So cool. He knew everything. Just take you around. Be like,
So in this phase of your life,
I was just coming back to nature.
yeah. So where was your ethical formation coming from? Were you from a very superficial perspective? Were you a good person? Like, you were not a bully, or were you punching others? You were
No.
stealing.
I was not bully. I didn't
like
never got into a fight. I wasn't a bully. I was kind of a neutralizer. I would say I was always there to try to like moderate.
who learned that to be that person,
I think just
directly or indirectly?
I think directly through experiencing my brothers, both my brothers. They're
They were good people,
well,
or they used to fight.
yeah, no, they would fight each other, so I'd have to moderate and or try to figure out a way to moderate at least my emotions to it. So I became like a natural moderator in that sense, and I still am that way in my life. Like, I really don't like to fight. I'm not enough person that just like starts arguments. Like, I really don't like doing it. It tires me. I'm stupid. But there's a need for it, I guess. Some people like fighting. They think it makes people stronger. I don't really agree. I don't know. I'm still figuring that part out. But yeah. So my brothers, for sure, navigating them, but they still have a good relationship. But it was challenging because they were very opposite each other, and I was a little bit of both of them. So it was amazing for me because I was able to have two different people to go to for things, and also two different perspectives that formed me into be who I was. Like, if my brother Greg didn't come and say like, look, do science, like I would have never had that amazing experience that I did.
That's why, no, I mean, that's why we all contribute into each other's lives.
Yeah.
Starting from the family and the big community. And it's a good thing. Unfortunately, you can also be directed into the wrong path. That's why we got to be careful who's asking you what to do. Right? So then what happened?
Well, actually kind of going through all of this, like as I was getting into the ranger school, my best friend who, he was my boyfriend prior, but he was one of my good friends. He actually passed away. And it was a really strange thing that happened. So we can kind of circle this back to just like growing up and like where you go after kind of middle school, right? And like what's your choices after that? So our town was really, really, really very big into parties, so like that was like pretty huge. There was drugs all around. Long Island sucks with the drugs, because they're dirty. and they they hide stuff. Like they're just very dirty. You can't, I don't know. I don't touch drugs, so it's like it's very difficult. But unfortunately, you know, when I was like I said, when I was 17, like all my friends had graduated. I made a new friend group, right? So this was kind of a part of that, and it was really great. Like it was awesome. Like I had fun with everybody because we just all like, it was pretty cool. And drugs weren't like the thing. But unfortunately, my boyfriend, he was my boyfriend of like 5 years after this had happened, but we had turned friends because he had moved to Rhode Island. He was hanging out at his friend's house. He came back to visit East Meadow one night. We were hanging out all day. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go out to dinner with my friends. And then I guess something happened. He did some drugs with his friends, and he ended up like going unconscious, and his friends didn't know what to do, so they like dropped him off at the hospital, and he ended up being in the hospital for a whole year.
What?
Yeah, and he slowly lost what he was, but seeing that like at 21, that's when I went to Ranger School. I was like, I'm getting out of here. Like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not into all these drugs that are here. I'm not into like the people that it's taken, because a lot of us lost friends. There were so many kids dying like at like 21. It was crazy. And that's because fentanyl came into our country, and it's been, war on fentanyl ever since. And that's, like after that epidemic of the fatalities that had happened throughout, like, 2012, 2010 to 2012, it's like Narcan came out after that. You know what Narcan is?
I don't know.
Okay, it's in a lot of bars now because it's the drug that saves your life if you have an overdose from fentanyl. And it became an epidemic in our country, and it was like 10 years too late that thing came out. It's just like, if they just had that, they could have probably saved his life at that moment. So you think about those things, but you also are so grateful that the technology has advanced and like people are more aware of that. And it was just an accident, and it's not like this person was a user, and he did this completely accidental, and he ended up dying of MRSA, which is a hospital infection. It's a staph infection. So he didn't die from the overdose. He ended up dying from, the hospital and the mistreatment of that, which is like a totally another story. But so God came back to me then, because his mother was very religious, and she still is, and she's like a guiding light for me in most cases. We don't really talk that much, but I see her posts and her contributions and everything. She said that like one of the last things that she had ever said to her son was like, because they had struggled throughout, I think, his upbringing of like him believing in Jesus and like, finding his way, because she was very religious and she really wanted him to be that way too. But he was very unique and was like fantastic skateboarder, very artistic, can draw like anime, stuff like that. Architecture, super creative mind. So he was still immature and finding his ways with things. But like one of the last things that they had conversed to each other was like, like, have you found Jesus yet? And like he like agreed like yes. And then like shortly after he had finally went, she says home. So pretty interesting.
And how old were you?
21.
And that's
She was
where
21.
that was your turning point,
Yeah.
a nodal event.
Well, that was the numbing point. Yeah.
In what way?
So it's not necessarily the turning point. It was the numbing point. This was the point where now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the Adirondacks and I'm going to disappear and I'm going to let go of all that stuff that just happened. And that includes my family. I moved out of my mom's house, so I didn't have my childhood room anymore, which was crazy. I moved in with my dad for a year. So there was like a lot of like these big changes that were happening, but it wasn't happening in the way where it was like I was choosing it. It was kind of just like it's getting swept. It was like a broom's coming and it's like time to go. And that's what it felt like for me. So it was good. And I really enjoyed that. I think that me doing that saved my life in a lot of ways. It definitely took me out of becoming an alcoholic, I think, which is like so huge for me. Although I did drink very heavily in college, it just getting away from like the home life of it was really important because I kind of found my own relationship with alcohol, and I understood like, hey, look, like I can't handle this stuff. Like this is ridiculous. I'm gonna stop. That came to me when I was like 25. So I only lived with like the free that free mode for like 3 years, where I was just like, I was gonna get drunk every weekend because that was my numbing point. When I had lost my friend, it was like really difficult.
But God was at work, and
Yeah.
Spirit of the Lord was working through the circumstances to make you stronger and develop more life experiences and then go somewhere.
Yeah. I also just think that it was a plain old accident. And I don't think that that was really something that should have happened at all. I just don't. I think that that was an absolute accident. It was negligence, really, unfortunately. And
I think it did impact you.
Oh, 100%. It still does.
It does.
Yeah.
Then you left.
Yeah.
And how was your emotional side?
Well, like I told you, that was like the numbing point, so you, like I said earlier, you can either go one way where you close yourself off into a box, or you throw yourself the other way. And I'm not saying that I was like, in everybody's faces with my life, but like, I never talked about it. Nobody knew what I was going through at all. Like still to this day, this is probably the first time I've ever actually really talked about it, like literally out loud to somebody else. A lot of my family and my friends don't even really know that I had gone through that, which is hard too, because it's like you don't really know where to put it. So, but you navigate. You never really get over things like that. You just have to like learn how to evolve and like grow and just adapt with that. But understand that it's there in a different form. So that's helped me grow a lot. So yeah. The radio school was awesome. I loved being there. It helped me. I didn't really tell anybody what I was going through, but I did find an escape in music. I've always been pretty musically inclined. Like I love playing the piano. I love playing baritone ukulele. I love singing. I love writing songs. So that really channeled it for me. And I would listen to a lot of music. Had an iPod. Love that thing. Somebody stole it and sold it. Unfortunately, a freaking roommate in Syracuse. So yeah, like I was like numb, but I was fun and I was open to life, but I was dumb, I shouldn't have drank as much as I did. Unfortunately, drank too much beer. Yeah. I hate to say it like that because I was still getting my stuff done. Like going to ESF was hard. So after the Ranger School, like, we took like 24 credits in a semester. Like that's insane. Like you gotta be on your stuff. Like I'm not saying I was a waste case, but I'm just saying like, I think that the glorification of alcohol was just a little too much in college. I think it was dumb. But then again, I was it was whatever. It's not a big deal. Everybody was doing it. I wasn't the only one drinking beer, So whatever, you graduate Ranger School, right? And then I went to the main campus, which is in Syracuse. So have you ever been to Syracuse before?
It's 4.5 hours away.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Maybe once.
Syracuse. I mean, it's a cool city, but there's a lot of poverty there. So there's a university bubble. You got to be really careful with where you go at night. And you really do have to be pretty careful, And at that time, like Ring cameras weren't a thing. Like Instagram wasn't a thing.
Right.
There was no Instagram. I'm sorry to say there wasn't in like 2013. There wasn't Instagram.
Yeah.
So yeah, chilling in Syracuse was really cool. That was fun. I mean, talk about diversity. Like everybody from the world goes there.
Yeah.
Like you can meet.
I know somebody who's doing PhD or something like that.
I love that. I love that experience. Yeah. But then you get into the habits. So it was traditional party school. Where every weekend there'd be like a theme party or like a toga party or like a Halloween party or dress up as a fairy party or so stupid stuff like that.
Which one was your favorite?
My favorite was, I loved the fantasy party where you could just dress up as like any of like your favorite fantasy character. And I think I dressed up as a fairy. So yeah, my friend was like a gnome, or my fiance was a gnome.
You had a fiance then?
Well, he's my fiance now.
Right.
So yeah,
So-
I met him there. I met him at that. I met him in college.
Okay.
Yeah.